Have you ever wondered why both the United States and China, the two most powerful nations on Earth, are desperately trying to win over one small island nation? Why does Singapore, a country barely the size of a city, hold such massive influence over global trade, finance and geopolitics in 2025? Welcome to Infosphere. In this video, we'll dive deep into why both the US and China need Singapore more than ever in 2025, and how this tiny nation continues to punch far above its weight. From trade routes to technology, diplomacy to defense, Singapore stands at the center of a global tug-of-war. Before we begin, make sure to hit that subscribe button, tap the bell icon, and stay with us till the end for a surprising truth about Singapore's secret strategy that keeps both superpowers dependent on it. Strategic location, the gateway of global trade. Singapore sits right at the crossroads of the world's busiest maritime trade routes. Positioned at the tip of the Malay Peninsula, it controls one of the most vital choke points, the Strait of Malacca, through which nearly one-third of the world's trade passes every single year. For both the United States and China, this makes Singapore an irreplaceable hub. For China, which heavily relies on importing oil from the Middle East and exporting goods to the West, Singapore acts as a key transit and logistics point. Without stable access through Singapore's waters, China's entire Belt and Road maritime network could face severe disruption. For the United States, Singapore's port provides a secure foothold in Southeast Asia, an area that balances China's growing influence. The US Navy uses Singapore as a logistical base for its ships patrolling the Indo-Pacific, ensuring freedom of navigation and protecting allies like Japan and the Philippines. Singapore knows its value and plays it wisely. By remaining neutral but open to both sides, it ensures that no matter which superpower dominates, Singapore remains the indispensable middle ground. Economic powerhouse and investment magnet. Singapore is not just a trade hub, it's also an economic magnet for both the United States and China. With one of the most open economies in the world, it attracts trillions in foreign investment. China sees Singapore as the perfect financial gateway to Southeast Asia. Over the past decade, Chinese banks, technology companies and investors have expanded their presence in Singapore, setting up headquarters to manage regional operations. They view Singapore as a neutral, stable base for engaging with ASEAN markets. On the other hand, American companies love Singapore for its transparency, rule of law, and world-class infrastructure. Giants like Google, Meta, and Microsoft have regional headquarters in Singapore, overseeing operations that span across Asia-Pacific. By 2025, Singapore's economy remains a crucial bridge between East and West. The US counts on it for access to Asian markets, while China uses it as a safe space to engage global finance without facing Western scrutiny. This balance makes Singapore a golden gateway both nations can't afford to lose. Political neutrality and global diplomacy. Singapore has mastered the art of political neutrality. Unlike other nations that are forced to choose between the US and China, Singapore has carefully built strong ties with both, while maintaining independence. In global diplomacy, this neutrality makes Singapore a trusted mediator. For example, the historic meeting between Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un in 2018 was hosted in Singapore, a testament to the world's trust in its balanced stance. In 2025, as tensions continue to rise between Washington and Beijing over trade, technology and Taiwan, Singapore remains one of the few countries both powers respect. The US appreciates Singapore's alignment with democratic principles and defense cooperation, while China values its recognition of Beijing's One China policy and its participation in regional initiatives. By walking this tightrope so skillfully, Singapore ensures it can continue benefiting from both sides while maintaining its sovereignty and stability. Technological innovation and digital hub. When it comes to technology, Singapore has become Asia's Silicon Island. It leads in smart city development, AI innovation, cybersecurity, and digital governance. For China, Singapore represents a testing ground for digital projects and fintech cooperation under safe, regulated conditions. Chinese firms like Huawei and Alibaba have invested heavily in Singapore's data centers and cloud infrastructure, using it to reach international clients. Meanwhile, the US views Singapore as its primary ally in safeguarding digital freedom in Asia. American companies collaborate closely with Singapore in cybersecurity and next-generation digital governance to ensure transparency and fair use of AI technologies. By 2025, both nations depend on Singapore's tech ecosystem to shape the future of digital infrastructure in the Asia-Pacific. Singapore doesn't just adopt new technologies, it sets the standard for how they should be managed globally. Defense cooperation and security balance. Singapore may be small, but it has one of the most advanced military forces in Asia. It hosts American military assets while maintaining strong defense relations with China. The United States relies on Singapore to maintain a military presence in Southeast Asia without provoking regional hostility. The U.S. Navy's littoral combat ships are regularly deployed from Singapore, ensuring quick access to the South China Sea. At the same time, China values Singapore's defense diplomacy through platforms like the Shangri-La Dialogue, where global leaders meet annually in Singapore to discuss security issues. Beijing sees Singapore as a rational partner that promotes peaceful dialogue instead of confrontation. In 2025, this balance allows Singapore to act as a stabilizing force amid rising military tensions, giving both the US and China reasons to maintain close defense ties with it. The ASEAN Gateway and regional leadership. Singapore is the beating heart of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, a region with over 600 million people and booming economies. For China, Singapore helps integrate its Belt and Road projects into ASEAN markets. Chinese infrastructure firms use Singapore as a base for regional operations. For the United States, Singapore represents a trustworthy ally inside ASEAN, one that can advocate for open markets, democratic values, and strategic balance against China's growing clout. Because Singapore maintains strong relations with every ASEAN member, it's often seen as the voice of reason in regional matters. Both powers use Singapore's influence to shape ASEAN policies in their favor, but Singapore ensures that ASEAN's collective interests remain protected. Financial stability and currency hub. Singapore's reputation as a financial safe haven makes it indispensable to both Washington and Beijing. Its banking system ranks among the world's most stable, and its currency, the Singapore dollar, is one of the most trusted in Asia. For China, Singapore provides access to international finance without direct exposure to US sanctions or Western regulations. The Singapore Exchange has become a key platform for trading Chinese yuan-based assets. Meanwhile, the United States benefits from Singapore's close financial alignment with the dollar and its commitment to global transparency. Many American firms use Singapore as their Asian treasury hub. In essence, Singapore's role as a financial bridge allows both powers to coexist economically, even as they compete politically. Education, talent, and innovation power. Singapore's education system ranks among the world's best, and its universities attract bright minds from every corner of the globe. For the United States, Singapore provides a steady flow of skilled Asian talent, particularly in science, engineering, and business, which strengthens innovation partnerships. For China, Singapore serves as a model for governance, education, and sustainable growth. Chinese officials often study Singapore's policies to understand how to blend Western efficiency with Asian discipline. This intellectual exchange ensures that Singapore remains the brain of Asia, a place where ideas from both East and West merge to create the future. Sustainability and smart urban leadership. As the world faces climate change and urbanization challenges, Singapore stands as a global model for green living. Its smart city projects and clean energy policies attract admiration worldwide. China collaborates with Singapore to develop eco-friendly city projects under its Belt and Road Green Initiative. The United States sees Singapore as a leading partner in sustainable technology and renewable energy development. By championing sustainability, Singapore secures its relevance in a world that demands innovation, resilience, and responsibility, values both the US and China can align with. So, why do the United States and China both need Singapore in 2025? Because this tiny nation is more than a dot on the map. It's the bridge between two worlds. It's where Western innovation meets Eastern discipline, where diplomacy meets strategy, and where the future of Asia is quietly being written. Singapore proves that power doesn't always come from size. Sometimes it comes from wisdom, balance, and vision. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with friends who love learning about world politics and global strategy. Let us know in the comments, do you think Singapore can remain neutral forever between the US and China? Thanks for watching Infosphere, where we uncover the stories shaping our world.